Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Reading Arabic with Mina. Today's lesson is about the Arabic letter Ghain. Ghain. The letter Ghain is the 19th letter of the Arabic alphabet. The letter Ghain is one of the two letters that share the same shape. The Ain from the previous lesson and today's lesson, Ghain. So Ghain is with a dot and Ain without a dot. They both rhyme in the name Ain, Ghain. But the difference is not just the dot, but also the place in the throat where the sounds are produced. Ain is produced from a different place than the letter Ghain. This unique Ghain has the R sound. R. And it comes particularly from the very top of the throat. And if we want to describe it or compare it to a natural sound, we can simply compare it to the sound of gargling. When you gargle the water or when gargles on water with a mouthwash, they make this sound. And that makes it a more familiar sound than the sound because it's a natural sound. In we make an effort, we try to squeeze our vocal muscles, but here we can imagine that it is a gargling sound, or the sound when you watch in a movie someone is drowning sound. So this is a more familiar sound. This unique sound of ghain doesn't only exist in Arabic. What makes it special in Arabic actually is the way that it is produced. First of all, it's a standalone letter and the sound is vibrant and powerful. Also, the gha sound exists in other languages, and in some languages it's a variant of another letter. For example, the Parisian accent or the French spoken in Paris. They do not pronounce the r. They write it down, but they do not pronounce it, and they pronounce it r. Like for example, Paris is Paris, rose, rouge, and red, rouge. And this is only one example of the sound of r as a variation of another letter. Okay, now let's leave Paris and go to England or America where this sound of r or the letter ghain itself doesn't exist. How will they, or how do we write our names or the names of our cities or landmarks in English, for example, when it has the letter ghain? We simply replace it with GH. Now the G here has the G sound. So every word in Arabic that has the letter ghain is written with GH. The G or the hard G, as in the word good, it is the sound that this is the nearest sound that an English speaker can produce when hearing the R sound. And the H is for indicating that it's not just a G sound, it's a special letter indicating it is a special letter in Arabic. Even if they don't know it is G, they know that this is not just G, or it's not a hard G, it is a different letter, G. So they pronounce it G, but they write two letters. Like in Kha, you remember Kha? They write K, H. The K is the nearest letter for them when they hear the letter Kha. And the H, it indicates that this is not just a standard Ka. It is differently pronounced in the original language. The same story here. The hard G, G sound when they produce or they pronounce the name, and the H in writing to indicate that this is a different letter than the G sound. So let's listen to some examples. Ghada, a female name, becomes Gada. Ghalib, a male name, becomes Galib. Gaza, the very famous resisting city in Palestine, becomes Gaza. Baghdad, the capital of Iraq, becomes Baghdad. Now you may notice here that the word Gaza doesn't have the H. This is the standard spelling that someone chose to write the name of the city. It may be for the reason that they wanted to save place in the maps, or they simply just wanted to omit the H. But it doesn't make any difference, because whether you say Baghdad or Gaza, you are pronouncing it in English with the G sound. And the H is just for indicating that this is a different sound than the G sound. Now, let's listen closely to the sound of the letter Ghain. Now, the neutral state with sukoon is and when we apply harakat with fatha gha, with dhamma ghu, and with kasra ghi. So far, I think that you may find pronouncing gha a quite simple task, and in no time you'll master the complete, vibrant, strong gh sound. Now, the first exercise will be the gargling water exercise. Now, if you are used to this action and it's okay with you to gargle water, just imagine gargling water. Or when you do it as a routine in the morning, just pay attention to the sound. Now, please, I want you to pay attention. If you are someone who is not used to this practice, please do not do it, because choking on water could be a deadly thing. You can just simply listen to gargling water on YouTube, or at any audio you can find, or you can simply just copy the action. Just put your hands on your throat like the picture, and feel the vibrations. The vibrations resulted from the sound of gargling. Just imagine. Now I will make the sound without any water. You can practice this until you feel that you mastered the sound at the top of your throat. If you're not comfortable with this natural sound, we can simply move to the next exercise. Now, in this second exercise, I believe it is safer than the first exercise. If you're not used to gargling water, you can just simply pretend that you are a French man or lady from Paris, and you pronounce ra for every ra sound. You say rouge, rouge, bonjour, merci. If you're not interested, or you're not familiar with the sound and you want to keep on the track of the safe exercise, you can just simply listen to Arabic words, French words, or whatever language that has this sound, and you will find plenty of these words that contain this sound compared to the sound that needs extra effort directly from you. I believe that with the letter Ghain, or with the Gha sound, there's no much worry to master the sound. All you need, if you're not familiar, or if you're totally not familiar with the sound, is either to listen to a gargling water sound, or if you are familiar with the Gha sound but you're not using it, you start copying the sound. What method you use, it doesn't matter, as long as it is easy for you to understand where the letter is produced, and you start producing it, and with time you're going to refine it and just produce it as standalone letter, not just a raw sound as in the gargling water. So good luck in your mission. Now let's listen to words containing the letter Ghain and see how the Gh sound blends naturally with other letters in a word.
اذكري لي يا صديقتي كلمات تبدأ بحرف الغين.
غار، غراب، غزال، غسالة.
Finally, we reach the part where we connect the sound of the letter with its shape so that you will never forget the sound whenever you see the letter or the shape of the letter Ghain. Now, before we jump into the action, let's take a close look at the shape of the letter Ghain. It's obvious that it looks exactly like the Ain with two connected curves, the small curve at the top and the big curve at the bottom. The additional extra here is the dot of the Ghain. So put this in mind when we discuss the link. I want to mention that when we learned about the letter Ain, I walked you through a very deep philosophical perspective just to make sure that you will never forget the letter Ain. I'll do the same thing, although it is not that deep, it is only a story. But this story is special because it has to do with water. I don't know if you noticed that since the beginning of the lesson, I'm giving you examples and saying words that is related to water, like gargling. And by the way, gargling in Arabic is gharghara. So it has two ghain. So it reflects this dynamics of the sound and the vibrations of the sound. Also, I mentioned the word drowning in Arabic, gharaq. The word gharaq also starts with the letter ghain, and the sound of drowning is similar to the gha sound that I mentioned earlier in the lesson. So we will keep this in mind that all the things that we are going to mention in this lesson has to do with water. So our story will also take place in the ocean. The main character or the hero or the only hero of our story is this Ghawas. This guy decided to dive into the ocean, so he put on his suit and hood, and you can notice that he has a rounded head and a plumpy or fat body. Does it remind you of something? Let's see. This غواص غطس into the water. At the deep bottom, he found a pearl. So he decided not to waste any time and get out of the water. Once the Ghawas came out of the water, he felt something strange happening to him. First, the pearl that he was holding in his hand flew immediately over his head in a floating fashion. Wherever he moves, it moves with him, but he couldn't put it down. The other strange thing is that somehow there are superpowers in this pearl. Maybe he couldn't remove the equipment or the suit or the hood. So he was moving around with the suit and equipment, and because of the equipment, he couldn't speak normally. And the only sound that he can make was gh. So people were laughing at him and calling him Mr. Ghain. And as you can notice here, the name or the Mr. Ghain applies to him not just because of the sound, even because of the shape. This rounded head because of the hood, looks like the curve, the top, small curve. And his big tummy is similar, or it fits here in the big curve. But the Ghawas wasn't sad about this naming because he was thankful that he survived Gharaq. And that was all about the story of the letter Ghain. This letter and this story is loaded with a lot of words. غرغرة, غواص, غطس or غطسة, and غرق. And they all do, or they are all related to water and to Mr. Ghawas. And I hope that you will never ever forget the sound of that has to do with water, or the shape of the plumpy غواص. This brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.